Imagine walking through the cold, rain-slicked streets of Manhattan in 1950. The neon lights of Times Square are buzzing, the jazz clubs are overflowing, and the sirens are wailing in the distance. To the average citizen, this is the center of the free world. But you know better. You're standing in the heart of an invisible kingdom where the real laws aren't written by judges in mahogany courtrooms, but by silent men in dark overcoats. Only 1% know this history. Follow for more. New York wasn't just a city, it was a sprawling golden cake sliced into five lethal pieces. The five families, the Genovese, the Gambino, the Lucchese, the Colombo, and the Bonanno. These weren't just street gangs fighting over turf. They were the shadow government. They owned the docks where every crate of silk and machinery landed. They owned the unions that built the very skyscrapers that define the skyline today. If a shovel moved in New York, a boss in a social club somewhere was getting his cut. Do you hear that rhythm? The steady clicking of a typewriter in a windowless room? That's not a police report. That's the sound of the commission. Before 1931, the Mafia was a chaotic mess of mustache Petes, old-school bandits who fought bloody wars over pride. Then came Charles Lucky Luciano. He was a visionary, a man who realized that bullets were bad for the bottom line. He did the unthinkable. He murdered the old bosses and invited the survivors to a table. He turned the Mafia from a group of warring thugs into a sophisticated corporate empire, structured more efficiently than most Wall Street banks. He replaced chaos with the business. Now, I want you to close your eyes and breathe in the smell of stale espresso and expensive tobacco. Imagine you've been called up. You've spent years on the street proving your loyalty, never whispering a word to the feds. You're taken to a dimly lit basement in an undisclosed social club. In front of you on a wooden table lies a heavy revolver, a dark red rose, and a small paper picture of a saint. You cup your hands and the boss sets the picture on fire. As the flames lick your palms, you feel the searing heat, but you don't flinch. You repeat the ancient oath. May my soul burn like this saint if I ever betray my brothers. This is Omertà, the law of silence. In this world, your tongue is your most dangerous enemy. If you talk, you're a ghost, a dead man walking. If you stay silent, you are part of the elite. You are a made man. From the longshoremen at the Brooklyn docks to the highest-ranking politicians in Washington, D.C., everyone knew the rules. When a made man walked into a room, the air grew heavy. People lowered their voices. Respect wasn't earned. It was an obligation backed by the ultimate price. By the 1960s and 70s, the five families reached their zenith. They were untouchable. They controlled the garbage industry, the garment district, and even the food that ended up on your dinner table. They lived in sprawling mansions on Long Island, sent their children to the best Ivy League schools, and had armies of the most expensive lawyers money could buy. They were the kings of an empire that generated billions of dollars in untaxed revenue every single year. But extreme power breeds an even more extreme ego. Enter the era of the Dapper Don, John Gotti. He was the antithesis of everything Luciano had built. Gotti traded the safety of the shadows for the glare of the spotlight. He wore $5,000 Brioni suits, spent thousands on haircuts, and smiled for the cameras as he beat federal rap after federal rap. He became a folk hero to some, but to the old guard, he was a disaster. He broke the golden rule: stay invisible. Suddenly, the FBI wasn't just watching from across the street. They were inside the walls. High-tech surveillance changed the game forever. Tiny microphones were planted in the most sacred of places, inside pasta bowls at favorite restaurants, behind the wood paneling of social clubs, and even in the cars of the high-ranking captains. The golden age began to bleed out. Betrayals started to happen. Men who had sworn the oath of Omertà began to flip to save themselves from life sentences. The myth of the unbreakable brotherhood was shattered by the cold reality of federal prison. The New York Mafia wasn't just a collection of crimes. It was a parallel universe with its own justice system, its own tax code, and its own grim destiny. It was a dark reflection of the American dream, men who came from nothing and took everything they wanted by force and cunning. Now, as you look at the modern skyscrapers of Manhattan, ask yourself, do you really think those families just disappeared because a few bosses went to prison? Or did they simply do what Luciano taught them? Did they evolve, shedding their leather jackets for silk ties, moving from the docks to the server rooms, and hiding their billions in plain sight behind computer screens? Oh.